until the very, very end. Hi, Dawn. Hello, and welcome everybody to my next episode of Watering the Soul, where I'm reading the book Mind Power into the 21st Century by John Kehoe. It's an incredible book, and we're going to get started on the next few chapters today. So I hope that you settle in, make yourselves comfortable, and I'm going to read those next few chapters to you. Okay, so we are starting on chapter 13 today, and it's titled A Self-Image. Something we were withholding made us weak until we found it was ourselves. Robert Frost. While most everyone would agree on the importance of a good, healthy self-image, few of us understand how to acquire one or realize how the one we now possess was created in the first place. Our self-image is exactly what it says, an image we have of ourselves, made up of ideas that we have formed over the years. Once this image becomes imprinted on the subconscious mind, it takes on a life of its own, and we forget that it is something we have created, something which can be changed and altered. Let us look closer at how a self-image is formed. In childhood, when our worth was first established, we created and accepted all kinds of ideas about ourselves. If our parents were loving and supportive, we most likely feel relatively good about ourselves. If our parents abused, ridiculed, or belittled us, we may have a less positive self-image. As we grew up and moved away from our parents and out into the world of our peers and other adults, countless other experiences impress themselves upon us. Unfortunately, if we have made a habit of dwelling on life's inevitable disappointments, we may have made disappointment the central part of our overall image. Building a strong self-image. A car that is not maintained properly will inevitably become a wreck. A house that is not kept up will become run down and dilapidated. Your self-image, likewise, must be maintained if you want it to be as strong and vibrant. It is through ignorance and neglect that a self-image deteriorates. Take responsibility. Take care of your self-image as you would take care of yourself. Life is full of temporary disappointments, heartaches, failures, and problems. And if we are not careful, these can easily drag us down. We need to regularly reinforce our self-image in order to keep it healthy. We can do this by setting up a regular program to feed our mind with positive, uplifting, inspiring thoughts about ourselves. We can even cheat a little and include thoughts that aren't yet true. Remember, your subconscious mind will accept any thought about yourself that you regularly think, true or not. And that idea will eventually become part of your self-image. 3 useful concepts can be imprinted, which will immediately strengthen your self-image. Number 1, you are unique. No one else has your thoughts, your ideas, or your ways of doing things. Most people think they are ordinary, but don't you make that mistake. Don't just recognize your uniqueness, proclaim it through your actions and in your daily thinking. Feel good about being alive and being you. Carry yourself with the dignity you deserve, and you put yourself at a very great advantage. Number 2, you can do anything. We forget that life affords us countless possibilities and choices, and we too often become bogged down in our day-to-day routines, losing sight of what can be done if we but put our minds to it. You can travel to any country. You can learn any language. You can start any business. You can learn to play any musical instrument. You can join any group. You can learn any craft. You can develop any trade. You can change careers. You can begin any project. You can think any thoughts. What can't you do if you put your mind to it? You have programs already written into your vast computer mind that cover every possibility. I call them holographic possibilities. A tomato seed has only one possibility, and that is to be a tomato. A rose cannot do anything but become a rose. Its fate is locked in to that one reality. But you have infinite potential. The seed of whatever you choose to be is contained within you. 3. You have unlimited power. Every day of your life you wake up with limitless power at your disposal. The power I speak of is the ability to choose your thoughts. Nobody tells you what to think or how to think. You and you alone determine what you do with this power. You can create, build, and strengthen any area of your life. You will become whatever you consistently think about yourself. Timid thoughts create a timid person. Confident thoughts create a confident person. Weak thoughts create a weak person. Strong thoughts create a strong person. Thoughts with a purpose create a person with purpose. Visionary thoughts create a visionary person. Thoughts of helplessness create a helpless person. Thoughts of self-pity create a person filled with self-pity. Enthusiastic thoughts create an enthusiastic person. Loving thoughts create a loving person. Successful thoughts create a successful person. You are responsible for your own self-image, and you are responsible for creating and maintaining it. Acknowledge yourself regularly. Visualize, seed, and affirm positive qualities for yourself. Love yourself. Self-love is very important. Not an I am better than you are, but a nurturing feeling that I am okay as I am. A realization that you don't have to be anything other than what you are. It is ironic that the moment you can accept yourself as you are, you can easily change yourself and become something different. So long as you dislike yourself, it is difficult to change, for it is self-acceptance at the deepest level which frees us to move on. Take the pressure off. You don't have to be anybody other than yourself. Once you accept yourself, you can explore some of the other selves you might want to become. Self-confidence. Insist on self-confidence. Settle for nothing less than a firm belief and conviction that you can and will succeed. If you have had an unfortunate childhood, put it behind you. You are here now, and your future awaits. If you have failed previously, so what? The only thing that counts is what you now think and what you do with those thoughts. As your self-image becomes stronger and more confident, life situations will become easier. For as you change, so does everything around you. It is entirely in your hands. Chapter 14. Creativity. All the arts we practice are apprenticeship. The big art is our life. M.C. Richards. When we think of creativity, we usually think of writers, painters, poets, musicians, individuals who are active in the arts. But creativity is by no means limited to these callings. Running a successful business, innovative parenting, a fun and interesting life, all require equal and sometimes greater amounts of creativity. creative and inspired moments are vital to everything we do in life. Relationships, family, business, work, and our community. Successful people who live their lives with confidence count on their creativity to constantly come up with new ideas to propel them through day-to-day challenges. Are you creative? How you answer this question will determine many aspects of your life. How you view yourself, whether you trust your instincts, how you problem solve, and how you come up with ideas and solutions all depend on what your answer is to this question. Let me explain. Several years ago, I became aware of a study conducted by a major corporation concerned about the lack of creativities among its engineers. To deal with this problem, a team of psychologists was brought in to find out what differentiated the creative people from those who were not. Company executives hoped that through the psychologists' findings, methods could be found to stimulate the less creative group. The psychologists conducted all kinds of tests to try to reveal what separated those who were creative from those who were not. What was the magic ingredient? Was there one? And if so, what was it? They asked hundreds of questions, covering everything from educational background, upbringing and hobbies to favourite food and colours, likes and dislikes. They probed beliefs, thoughts and attitudes, looking for the elusive key. After several months of study and several $100,000 worth of fees, the psychologists found what they were looking for. There was indeed a key factor that separated the two groups. The creative people thought they were creative, and the less creative people thought that they were not. While this may in some ways seem obvious, it is actually starkly revealing in understanding who we are and how we live our lives. What was happening with the engineers is that those who believed they were not creative never allowed themselves to explore new and different avenues. Why bother when you have nothing to contribute? They simply felt they didn't have the ideas and capabilities to be innovative. On the other hand, those who thought they were creative acted accordingly. They regularly and consistently tried new approaches and came up with new ideas and solutions, which in turn supported their belief that they were indeed creative. So you can see the importance of the question, are you creative? Whatever you answer will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you answered yes, congratulations. With the techniques presented in this chapter, you will learn to become even more creative. If you answered no, don't despair. No matter what you presently think of yourself, you do have incredible creativity within you. All you have to do is awaken to it. By practicing a few simple techniques, you will discover your creativity, and it will assist you to succeed with your goals and your dreams. Soon you will not only possess creativity, but you will come to value it as one of the most important tools of your life. We all possess creativity. It is our nature to be creative. It is part of who we are. Unfortunately, many of us were told at some early age that we are not creative, and we believed it. As a result, our creative instincts became repressed. Luckily, they can be reawakened and harnessed again easily. 6 creative tactics for a successful life. Number 1, be an explorer. It's one thing to be open to new ideas. It's quite another to actively seek them out. An explorer is forever trying novel and different ways of doing things. An explorer believes that there are new worlds, options, products, services, friends, methods, and ideas waiting to be discovered. An explorer will venture off the beaten path. Most significant advances in art, business, education, and science have come from someone exploring areas no one thought to investigate before. Explorers are not afraid of the unknown. They know that their success and happiness come not from following others, but in finding your own unique way. So they forge ahead, always on the lookout. Number 2. Ask questions. Question everything. The word question is derived from the Latin word quaerere, to seek, which is the same root as the word for quest. A creative life is a continued quest. Asking probing questions is indispensable to growth. Don't take anything for granted. Be naive. Question everything, said prolific inventor Buckminster Fuller. There are no dumb questions. The only dumb question is the one that you didn't ask. So question everything. Why am I living like this? Why am I doing this job? Where have I restricted myself? Where do I need changes? Why do I have toast and coffee for breakfast every day? Why am I not exercising? How can I spend more time with my family? What talents have I been neglecting? Why do I always go to the same restaurant? What habit, if adopted and practiced every day, would revolutionize my life? I wonder what would happen if I approached this person, client, or company. I wonder what would happen if we halved or doubled our product line. I wonder what would happen if I stopped watching television. I wonder what would happen if we sold our house and moved to Mexico. I have a friend who did just that. He asked himself that last question and liked the answer he received. He was married with 2 young children and a promising career, but he and his wife sold everything and moved to Mexico. His parents and most of his friends thought he was crazy, irresponsible, especially with 2 young children, but this did not stop him and his wife. They picked a quaint Mexican village known for its artistic community, and they moved there. He wrote his novel, his wife took up poetry, and the children adjusted to their new lifestyle. They spent almost 4 years in Mexico before eventually moving back again. While his novel never became a bestseller, he nonetheless followed his instincts and now works at a publishing house and is much happier than when he was at his previous occupation. It was the most daring and best move I ever made in my life, he says with a broad grin on his face. It is essential not to censor yourself, no matter how impractical or outrageous the question or answer sounds. This allows for fresh, unanticipated insights to reveal themselves. If you're honest and open with yourself and diligently ask questions about every area of your life, you'll probably discover that some of these questions reveal blind spots and assumptions that deserve to be challenged. Others will open up needs and desires you've repressed. We are creatures of habit. We easily fall into routines that may have once served us well, but now may be holding us back and keeping us in a rut. Our future depends directly on how well we question and examine our beliefs, actions, values, goals, and ways of living. Asking the right questions is crucial for living a creative life. If we want fresh perspectives and new insights, then asking penetrating questions of ourselves and listening non-judgmentally to the answers will reveal untold creative opportunities for change. Number 3, get lots of ideas. The best way to get a good idea is to get lots of ideas, said Linus Pauling, Nobel Prize-winning chemist. If you have only one idea, one solution to the problem you are facing. Then you only have one course of action. That's risky in a world where flexibility is a requirement. The one answer, one solution approach becomes deeply ingrained in our thinking. Too often, when we look for a solution or answer, we take the first one that comes to us. Train your mind to look for many solutions. Allow your creativity and imagination to open up. Yes, that works, you say, but maybe there is a better answer. Looking for the second, third, fourth solution stimulates the creative imagination. Quite often it's the second or third solution, the one that's a little unusual, that is exactly what suits our purpose. Guy Bouchard runs a successful advertising agency in Montreal. He is paid to come up with innovative campaigns for his clients. He has a rule which he says has served him well in his career. I force myself to always come up with at least 3 different concepts for any campaign, and then I pick the best. I'm tempted often to break the rule, he says. Sometimes I'll have what I think is a brilliant campaign on my first idea. But I put on the thinking cap and come up with 2 more, even if I'm positive that it's the first one I will use. Sometimes it is the first idea I use, but more often than not, it's the third or second or third we end up running with. Whenever you find yourself thinking that you've only one option available to you, remind yourself that you are not being creative. Life is filled with numerous choices and options. Open up your options by opening up your thinking. Train yourself to find alternate solutions and options. Number 4, break rules, break habits. Being creative often means breaking out of old patterns to create new ones. There is no particular virtue in doing things the way they have always been done. Sometimes breaking rules, initiating a revolution in our life, and overthrowing the tired habits and patterns that are keeping us stagnant is the most sensible way to go. Scotty Bowman is well known in hockey circles as an innovative coach. He knows how to get the best out of his players. He won Coach of the Year in 1996 for leading his team, the Detroit Red Wings, to the most victories in a regular season, breaking the old National Hockey League record. He also has more wins than any other professional hockey coach and surpassed the astounding 1,000 win mark in February 1997. When his team is not playing well, Scotty will often shake things up by putting players together who are not used to playing with one another. This contradicts the conventional wisdom that says you keep the same players on the same line because they know each other and can anticipate each other's moves. Scotty is not afraid of trying different and unorthodox combinations to get results. I learned an interesting technique from a successful clothing manufacturer in New York. When I feel bogged down, she said to me, I change my sleeping patterns. Instead of getting up at 7 and going to bed at 11, I get up at 4 and go to bed at 9. Just changing this pattern seems to stimulate new ideas and productivity. I later tried doing something similar with great results myself. For a 3-month period, I arranged my life so that I had 2 distinct sleeping periods in a 24-hour cycle. I would get up at 4 a.m. and work till noon, go to bed at 2 p.m. and get up at 6 p.m., then work till midnight before retiring to bed again. This allowed me to be incredibly productive. Plus, I had the added advantage of 2 morning periods where I seemed to be at my best. I also had many more dreams, or at least remembered many more. If you're not obtaining the results you want in life, maybe you need to break some rules. What habits or patterns can you break? How can you shake things up? Where in your life do you need a revolution? Now is the time to lead the charge. Don't be afraid to stir things up. When the dust settles, you're often better for it. Number 5. Use your imagination. Our imagination is not bound by real-world constraints. Our imagination knows no limits. Whatever your mind can conceive of and believe, you can achieve. Our creative imagination helps us to explore different options and envision numerous scenarios and outcomes. By harnessing this faculty, we can change and improve our life. Here are 2 simple ways of using your imagination to come up with innovative ideas. Imagine how others would do it. What qualities do you admire in people? Whom do you respect for creative achievement, persistence, or vision? Pick a role model, someone you would like to emulate. It can be someone living or dead, someone you know well or have never met. Now, imagine this person is in your position. This person is faced with your particular problem or challenge. Imagine this person actually in your body. The imagination is not bound by real-world constraints and taking over your situation. He or she is now able to live your life. What would he or she do? How would this person, for example, John F. Kennedy, Nelson Mandela, John Lennon, Mother Teresa, go about it? What assumptions would they bring in? What constraints would they ignore? What special twists could they bring to the situation? What expertise would they add? What innovative or revolutionary changes would they make? This process can be extremely valuable in moving us out of our self-imposed restraints and showing us options we hadn't considered. Imagine this person conversing with you and advising you. This technique gained notoriety in the summer of 1996 when Bob Woodward reported that First Lady Hillary Clinton used it to have imaginary conversations with former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. It was taught to her by the brilliant author and scholar John Kehoe at a Camp David retreat. It is a simple technique which involves imagining yourself having a real conversation with a person you respect and listening to what that person advises you. John Kehoe also guided TV host Larry King through an imaginary conversation with his mentor, the late TV legend Arthur Godfrey. This was done live on the Larry King Show in front of millions of viewers to demonstrate both the effectiveness and simplicity of the technique. Corporate executives and professional athletes alike use this mentoring technique to gain insights and inspiration. Does it work? Let's listen to what Napoleon Hill has to say. Hill is author of Think and Grow Rich and shares how he would convene imaginary meetings with his invisible counselors. He chose 9 men whose life works had been most impressive to him. People like Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Carnegie, and Henry Ford. And just before going to sleep at night, he would close his eyes and see in his imagination this group of men seated with him around his council table. It is worth noting that at these imaginary meetings, Hill was no passive observer. In his own words, "Here I had not only an opportunity to sit among those whom I considered to be great, but I actually dominated the group by serving as chairman." Although Hill has stated most empathically that it was all in his imagination and he didn't really believe he was conversing with the men, nonetheless, the ideas generated through this process were very real, and they led him into glorious paths of adventure and wealth. Using this system, he successfully solved all the difficult problems confronting him and his clients, and it helped him to become a very wealthy man. Number 6. fill the well. Filling the well means nurturing ourselves. We must learn to be self-nourishing, to be alert enough to consciously replenish our resources. The 21st century person will learn to balance work and leisure more effectively. As the Zen saying goes, the bough kept forever taut will break. This is a fact that we ignore at our peril. When you value your creativity, you learn to stimulate the muse within. Fun and diversity are great stimulators. Most major achievers in this world have reported that they often made their biggest breakthroughs after taking time out for contemplation and reassessment. This is not hard to understand because when you are idle, your subconscious mind, the creative mind, advances full steam ahead. It's almost always during these quiet times that brilliant new ideas come forth. Filling the well means thinking fun, not duty. Do something different, unusual, stimulating. Surprise yourself by moving out of your normal routine. Take up a new hobby or activity, maybe skiing, painting, glass blowing, hand gliding, water polo, gardening, whatever fills the well and nourishes you. A stimulated and excited mind is a mind more receptive to new ideas than a mind bogged down with details and deadlines. And if you feel a little guilty having all this fun, simply remind yourself that you are filling the well. It's time for a personal renaissance. The first half of the 16th century was a time of intellectual and artistic rebirth in Europe. A surge of creativity propelled European society out of the Dark Ages into what some called a golden age, the Renaissance. It was the time of Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo and Raphael. Christopher Columbus had just discovered America. Vasco da Gama sailed to India, Cortes to South America. People's concepts and minds were expanding. There was a scientific revival. Copernicus discovered that the earth revolved around the sun, rather than the opposite. The printing press was invented. It was a time of extraordinary intellectual achievement and artistic vigor, and the influx of new ideas and cultures opened up people's minds everywhere. As we rapidly approach the 21st century, we too have an opportunity to enter our own personal renaissance. Never before in the history of mankind has an individual been exposed to such a diversity of ideas, changes, and options. Old ways are rapidly giving way to new as we literally redefine the way we live our lives. To many, this is a daunting and overpowering prospect, but it need not be. Our subconscious mind is successfully assimilating this new reality and will advise us of the opportunities opening up to us. Creativity is a necessary skill for successful living. Fortunately, it is a skill that can be developed, as it is innate within us. The creative spirit, when awakened, is much more than an occasional insight. It is the ability to regularly and consistently solve day-to-day problems in innovative and unique ways. It means going beyond the routine and conventional. It means tapping into the inspiration that is forever within us and flowing with ideas. A personal renaissance awaits you. Discover and use the creative spirit within, and it will transform your life into an exhilarating adventure. Chapter 15. No problems, only opportunities. Who can tell what is good or bad luck? Zen saying. Most of us dream of the day when we won't have any more problems, when everything will be resolved and our lives will be complete. But problems are an important and valuable part of our lives, and instead of trying to eliminate them, we should strive to understand exactly what they are. Nothing happens by chance. We are part of a universe that is forever giving us definite messages and signals, often in the form of problems. It is not an accident or coincidence that a particular problem is happening to you at any given point in your life. Our difficulties are signposts waiting to be read. Ask yourself, what is the problem I'm experiencing telling me about myself? What is it telling me about my thoughts, beliefs, actions, choices, lifestyle? What is this problem trying to tell me? Look closely and see if you can find the real cause. If you always feel sorry for yourself or helpless when a problem comes your way, you'll miss the important messages it brings to you. Become an alchemist. The medieval alchemist spent his lifetime trying to learn the secrets of turning ordinary base metals into gold. Much time and great fortunes were spent in this pursuit to no avail. Medieval alchemy failed because its practitioners were looking in the wrong direction. The real alchemist is the one who learns the secret of turning everyday situations into gold, who learns how to make every situation serve him. Problems and difficulties can be used as a springboard to deeper insight, and the real alchemist understands that there are no such things as problems, only opportunities. No such things only as problems, only opportunities. Once a person takes on this belief and works at finding the opportunities that are contained within each situation, the experiences that follow this simple change of attitude are quite startling. Margaret Kelly, a woman who had attended my thought dynamics seminars, found an opportunity to practice this principle one day at work. She was the director of a huge nursing home, and together with her 2 assistants, managed the day-to-day affairs of over 1,000 patients. If even one of her assistants was off sick, it created havoc. So you can imagine the problem she faced one day when both called in sick. She panicked until she remembered that there are no such things as problems, there are only opportunities. Where is the opportunity here? Margaret wondered. Then Margaret realized that she was always working through just her 2 assistants, and that she didn't really know some of the staff they worked with. She told herself, I'm going to use this opportunity to get to know these other people. She spent the day talking and working with employees with whom she normally had little contact. She listened to their concerns and to the difficulties they were having, which, in turn, led to a whole new and more effective way of administering certain duties. As Margaret Kelly later told me, that day turned out to be a wonderful opportunity, and I accomplished so much. I doubt Margaret Kelly would have been able to turn such a tense situation to her advantage had she dwelt upon her so-called problem. It was changing her attitude from I've got a huge problem to there are no such things as problems, only opportunities, which enabled her to try the new course of action, producing such rich results. Nancy Spencer was facing the biggest problem of her life when I first met her. She had been deserted by her common-law husband and left with 3 small children. She had no money, no marketable skills, and no immediate prospects. It seemed like an insurmountable problem until Nancy began reminding herself that there are no such things as problems, there are only opportunities. But where? She searched for over a week before she finally found the opportunities she was looking for. She realized, upon examining herself, that she had always been dependent upon someone. First her parents, and then her common-law husband. She had always allowed other people to tell her what to do, because she had very low self-esteem. Now, in the depths of despair, in a seemingly hopeless situation, she made a promise to herself. Nancy resolved to rise up and become a confident and successful person for herself and for her children. She would use this crisis as a springboard to become a strong and independent adult. I was pleased I had the opportunity of teaching Nancy the concepts covered in this book, for she was an avid student and worked regularly and persistently on her self-image, her beliefs, and her goals. I watched her change before my very eyes and saw her progress from taking her first menial jobs to opening her own wholesale flower business. Today, she is a happy, successful, self-confident woman married to a warm and sincere man. They share a wonderful life together, all because Nancy believed there are no such things as problems, there are only opportunities. Become an alchemist in life and make every situation serve you. Remember that many times we complain about events which, in retrospect, were necessary for our growth and development. One of the great examples of turning happenstance to an advantage came about when researcher Don Stuckey accidentally left some treated glass in the furnace so long it turned white. Undaunted, Stuckey creatively turned that accident into a benefit by continuing to experiment with the new substance, and when he found it could withstand searing heat, further refined and marketed his mistake as Corning ware, a new product now found in almost every home in North America. Learn to see your stresses and struggles as challenges and opportunities, not liabilities or handicaps. Consider the story of entrepreneur Kathy Klob, who was born dyslexic, unable to tell right from left or read the time on a clock without great difficulty. My disability is one of the greatest advantages I have, she says. It helped me become a student of the thinking process. One day, Colby took the plunge. With $500 of her savings, she launched a firm called Resources for the Gifted. She compiled a catalogue of available resources for intellectually gifted children and sent it out to 3,500 teachers. At first, orders only trickled in, and even when they began to flow, the first years were hard. She bought a warehouse and the building caught fire. An employee embezzled money. Colby divorced her husband. In spite of everything, she never lost sight of her belief that there are no such things as problems, only opportunities. Today, she grosses $3.5 million a year, and Resources for the Gifted continues to grow. American President Franklin D. Roosevelt was a paraplegic who had to be helped in and out of his wheelchair. Yet, he brought America out of Great Depression and went down in history as one of the world's most respected and revered leaders. Bob Hawke rose from the depths of alcoholism to become an important Labour leader and eventually Australia's Prime Minister for 4 successful terms. Wilma Rudolph was born poor and black in depression-stricken Tennessee. When she developed polio at the age of 10, life didn't seem very promising to Wilma. Yet she surmounted all these problems and went on to win 3 gold medals in track and field at the 1960 Rome Olympics. 30 years later, another potential Olympian was facing the crisis of her life. Gail Devers was training to compete at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics when she suddenly broke out in sores all over her body. No one seems to know what it was. Finally, she was diagnosed with Graves' disease, a condition that had doctors threatening to amputate her feet. She was within 2 days of losing her feet when she finally began improving. Overcoming this adversity, she went on to win the 100-metre race in Barcelona, and then, with a home crowd of 85,000 cheering her on, she repeated this amazing feat in Atlanta in 1996. "I wouldn't change a thing," said Gail, looking back on her ordeal. "It was a blessing. It made me the person I am today. It made me a stronger, better person." The founding director of a highly successful investment firm shared with me his secret for hiring top performers. "We don't hire any senior people here unless they've had at least one major failure in their life. We find that people become more committed and determined as a result. It makes for a better person." What opportunities are waiting for you right now in your life? You will never know until you look for them. Very seldom do opportunities stand up and wave a flag at you. They more likely come disguised as problems or failures. But opportunities do exist in abundance for all of us, and if you are willing to open up and explore your problems with this new attitude, some exciting surprises await you. Your struggles and stresses are challenges and opportunities. As Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I believe very much in the struggle. And that concludes chapter 15. Next week, of course, we will be reading on, starting on chapter 16, Healing Ourselves. And I hope that you can join me then for my next episode of Watering the Soul. For now, I'd like to thank you for joining me and say thank you so much. Have a wonderful Saturday wherever you are in the world. I have been Ali O'Shea, reading Mind Power into the 21st century. For now, bye-bye.